Right. Hi, everybody. My name is Suzanne Grossman. I direct career services at Baruch College's Mark School of Public and International Affairs, and with our assistant director, Samantha Bruno. And this is a NASPA-wide event. So I see some Baruch students here, but there might be some folks from other schools. You're welcome to put in the chat what school you're affiliated with. But we're very excited to have two representatives from the New York State Teachers Retirement System to talk about career opportunities and tell us more. I'm gonna turn it over to Yalitza Negron to kick us off.
Sure. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual session. My name is Yalitza Negron, and I serve as the Talent Acquisition Sourcing Lead for the New York State Teachers Retirement System, or we call us NYSers, or System for short. We're excited to join you here today. I also have my colleague, Christine DePierno, who will be assisting with today's session to share a little bit more about our organization, but most importantly, to share with you even more about demystifying public service careers. So before we get started, I'll actually share my screen, and we have a slide deck to help guide our conversation today. We're hoping that the first part, and I'll walk you through the agenda, is really meant to give you like a bigger picture about working for New York State. And Christine is really our subject matter expert here on this. You're going to hear some really great tidbits and maybe even hear things differently than what you have in the past. So you'll gain some really valuable insight from her. And then we're going to apply that knowledge so that you can understand a little bit more about our organization. And by the end, we're going to talk briefly about some employment opportunities. We are going to be really mindful of your time just because we know folks are pretty busy. So if for whatever reason we run out of time, I will send Suzanne and Samantha the slide deck so they have it. And then we're happy to talk offline with any other questions that we don't get to in today's session. All right, so let me just share my screen and we'll go from there. All right, so thumbs up, folks can see it okay? Awesome. All right, so let's go from the beginning. Here. Oops. Slideshow. And from the beginning. All right. So we've already shared a little bit about us, but just wanted to show a little of our picture there, get an idea of our roles. And I didn't mention Christine's title, but she's a senior HR associate here with us at NYSers. So as we're getting started, just a couple of quick things. I actually attended a training with Handshake, which is a career development, really a career management tool that many colleges and universities may use. You might use a platform called Simplicity. What is important to know is that in a session with them, they really highlighted some important notes about folks that are going on the job market. And in particular, what are some things that are very important to you as prospective job candidates? So looking for opportunities that provide you with job stability, having an opportunity to learn about career mobility opportunities in an organization or career growth, or other words are like career mapping. Maybe what are the compensation and benefits packages, and especially around areas like mental health support, paying back your student loans or pursuing further education. Even financial well-being is an area that folks are really concerned about and want to say, how does my employer or you as a prospective employer supporting me with these areas? Furthermore, hearing a little bit more about what are you looking for in a geographic location and kind of getting a sense of, well, what's the community that I'm joining as a part of this organization? And even identifying other perks, paid internships, for example, or even getting transparency on how what employees can learn and become as part of the organization. And I think that's a big key here, is that it seems like a lot of prospective candidates right now want to hear, what is the value added for me by joining your community and what can I gain? And we're really proud that our organization covers all of these in varying ways, and we're happy to share more. But what we can find by zooming us out for a second is that working in public service is also a great way to get at all of these areas. And we want to help you. And for many of you, you're already public service minded professionals that are emerging into this field. So we want to help you to gain an understanding of, if you've contemplated New York State, but are not quite sure, what exactly this entails, we want to guide you through that. So for today's agenda, we're going to focus on demystifying careers in public service. And like I said, quick overview of NYSTERS as an organization and highlight some employment opportunities that may be of interest to you. And again, we'll circle back with more details for folks who want to talk offline. So we're going to start, and Christine's going to jump in to talk about demystifying employment at NYSTERS.
Thank you. Thanks for having me today. So as Yulitsa pointed out, we are a civil service organization, which means that we use civil service processes and procedures to fill a lot of our positions. Civil service has 4 classifications of jobs. Competitive, which means that those jobs are filled by taking an examination. Non-competitive, which means those jobs are filled by applicants meeting certain minimum qualifications that are outlined in a job posting. Labor class, those are jobs that have specific skills or educational requirements. And then the exempt class, which we really don't have here at NYSTERS, so I'm not going to talk too much about that, but those are usually positions that are associated with confidential or policy making influence. So here at NYSTERS, if we're talking about just our civil service positions, about 83% of them are made up through competitive positions, and the other 17% are non-competitive in labor. So for instance, a lot of our positions, such as senior accountants or senior auditors, those individuals are required to sit for an exam and be on a list in order to be eligible for hire. Whereas our investment officers, that title series is considered non-competitive. And so there are no exams required there, just that you meet the minimum qualifications. So what are some things that are specific to competitive service? So like I said, there are examinations that are given, which measure your knowledge, your skills, your abilities, and your characteristics. And you receive a score once you take the exam, and you're placed on a list based on your score. And from there, the process starts. We use those lists to recruit and fill positions. And based on who applies, we're able to determine who we can consider for those positions. So the types of examinations that New York State offers are open competitive, which are open to anyone in the general public as long as they meet the qualifications for that examination. Once you're in state service, there are promotional exams and transitional exams. And then there are also continuous recruitment exams that are open to the general public. If you're interested in seeing what type of exams might be being offered by New York State, we have a link here. You can go there, and that's where New York State lists all the examinations that are coming up. You can pull up an exam and look at the announcement and see if it looks like an interesting job to you. And if you meet the minimum quals, the process for applying for the exam would be on that exam announcement.
And I will just quickly add for folks that examinations have evolved a bit, and Christine could probably better speak to this, but like instead of the traditional exam model that folks would associate, it's become more of like an application that helps to assess your background and your qualifications. So it almost feels like an application-like style, but they still call it an examination. And we've started to see that. So just a thought to know, like if you don't see a true exam in the way you're probably conceptualizing it, that's just their intention to open up that process and adjust it. So we don't know what the future will hold, if that will remain that way, but just a thought there.
Oops. All right, so an overview of the competitive examinations. So examinations are sometimes continuous, where you can go online and you can at any time fill out an application to apply for a particular exam. And sometimes are offered on a periodic basis. So sometimes that could be once every 2 years, once every 4 years. When the prior list becomes depleted, they might decide to give an exam again. So what I would say to that is, if you see an exam being offered and it looks like an interesting job to you, you should sit and take that exam when it's being offered, because sometimes you really don't know when it's going to be offered again, and you can't be considered unless you're on the list. But you could always decline if you're not interested. The The compositions of exams, like Yelitsa was saying, can be very different. Sometimes they are written multiple choice. Sometimes they're a questionnaire kind of assessing your skills and your abilities. So civil service is really trying to look at the best ways to assess everyone's knowledge, their skills and abilities. And so they're trying different things. Official scores, once you take your exam, can take 90 to 120 days. And then they are compiled on a list. We here, when we go to recruit for a specific, excuse me, a specific title, we go to a system called ELMS, which is also available to the public. And we pull up the list and we send out a canvas to a group of people that are on that particular list. And that's how we get our candidate pool. When trying to assess who we can consider for a particular position, we have to use what is called the rule of three. This is a rule that civil service sets. And basically what that means is anyone who's applying and responding to the canvas, we can only include and consider the people who are in the top 3 scores. And this is an example on the screen that shows you what are the top 3 scores here. So you could see there's a score of 100 and then 3 people out of 95 and 1 person at a 90. Although the person at 90, that's a really great score, we wouldn't be able to consider them because the top 3 scores are 100, 95, and then the third score is also a 95, and anyone tied for a 95 could be considered. The types of employment that we have here at NYS, so we have traineeships, which is a great way to enter public service. Our TRS Investment Officer Series, that only requires that you have a bachelor's degree. And once you get in, you start at a grade 14, you work at a grade 14 for a year while you're learning the job. Then as long as you're successful, you move to the grade 16 and then you move to a grade 18. And not only just in our agency, but in many state agencies, there are many types of traineeships designed to help recruit people into public service, into state service, and help them move up the ladder. Once you've finished a traineeship, then you are available to sit for promotional exams in your title series. And really the sky could be the limit there. There's a lot of movement when you are working in public service and within the state. I'm not going to speak too much about the internships and the fellowships because Yelitsa is going to talk a little bit more about that, but just know that we do have those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a perfect exam for college students to be aware of and to consider taking if they are interested in public service is the Professional Career Opportunities exam. That is an exam that right now requires you to have a bachelor's degree or be obtaining your bachelor's degree shortly. So some of the titles that we use that list to hire for are listed here. The PCO is broken up into 2 separate list, a generalist list, and then also a select list. The select list are made up of jobs that require more specific requirements. So for a senior accountant, you can have a bachelor's degree either in accounting, auditing, or finance, or you can have a bachelor's degree in another area and then have 24 semester credit hours in accounting or auditing. So those titles are a little bit more specific on their requirements on the select list.
Mm-hmm. And PCO, and you might hear this already from your career offices, but it used to be an exam that was offered every 4 years. Then it transitioned to every 2 years. And as a result of a lot of hiring pauses with state government, it looks like the test might be offered maybe a little more frequently. But as you're hearing kind of a theme, it's important to keep an eye out for updates. And I do know that if you go to the Department of Civil Service website, you can actually sign up for an email account that can send you alerts so that you won't miss out on finding about these opportunities, because if they are really timing them and they're spacing out, at an interval that may not align with graduation, or it does, you just don't want to miss out. So just something to keep in mind for the future.
So here's an example of some of the competitive and promotional titles we have here at NYS. So this kind of gives you some information about how you can have some upward mobility working for a civil service agency. So we have a title called the Teachers Retirement Examiner 1. That's a grade 12 here. And once you're in that title for a period of 3 months, you can sit for promotional opportunity exams to the next level. And then once you're in title for a year, you can be appointed off of those lists. So you could see that particular title goes from a grade 12 to a 15 to an 18 to a grade 23. And then the Office Assistant 1 test, we like to put that on here. That's an entry level test. Everyone in the state uses that test to fill opportunities. And it is a series that it's a grade 6, but it does have promotional opportunities to higher level office assistants, but it also allows you to move and take transitional exams that might be offered and move into traineeships in the state, which lead to a grade 18. So again, it is entry level, but it's a great way just to get your foot in the door. And these slides, the next couple of slides, are just examples per department of some of the titles that we have here at NYSTERS. And like I said, most of them are competitive, but the TRS Investment Officer title series is non-competitive, meaning again that you only need to meet the minimum qualifications to be considered. We don't need to use a list for that title. And again, just some more examples of the different type of titles that we have here.
And as you're maybe just eyeballing a little bit, you might quickly see the breadth of departments or different areas. And I don't mind going back and forth between just to kind of showcase that again. We highly recommend for candidates that if there's an opportunity that's interesting to you, but you're not sure if you need it, feel free to reach out to us, but we would be more than happy to have a conversation with you. But I find that that's also for any other organization or even agency. If there's a hiring manager or a contact listed on a posting, it's just a good way to get some clarity before you put the time and effort in an application to say, am I truly qualified for this? And most of the time when I've spoken to candidates, they kind of just need that little reassurance to know that they can press send, and that's totally fine by us. We want to make sure you're putting the best informed decision moving forward. And this particular slide, and Christine and I can kind of bounce off of this one together, is really just highlighting the breadth of opportunities here and really starting to think critically of different social science and technology majors that if you have a background in this from your undergrad or even in grad school, have a leaning towards one of these areas, there are fits for you, whether you're interested in potentially considering legal, or maybe you're interested in marketing, or maybe there's some folks that are really interested in information training and development, which is our enterprise planning and development department. The name doesn't give it away, but that's who they are. Just to give you a sense that there is different pathways here, and that's why we do reiterate us as a resource to help you make the best informed decision of what are some career connections that you may not think of right off the bat utilizing your degrees. So just something to keep in mind. All right, so Christine is kind of really wrapped up on hearing a little bit more about the civil service process. I just want to encourage folks, that if you have questions, please feel free to write them in the chat, and we're happy to start to answer them along the way. We're going to transition now for you to get a better understanding of our organization and perhaps how we fit in like the larger piece of the system and how we fit with what information you've shared. So the New York State Teachers Retirement System, we are basically committed to providing educators with a secure retirement since 1921. So we're 102 years old, and we're very proud of all of that rich history. We have a very, very clear and concise mission. We want to provide our members with a secure pension. And what does that mean, right? Some people are like, that sounds great, but what is it? We're the organization that when teachers and staff administrators retire in New York State, we're the ones that pay out their retirement payment or their benefits to either their identified beneficiary or to themselves. And we're the ones who take care of that. We are really proud of having a strong vision of excellence in our fund, in our pension fund excellence in the way that we manage. We're very big on customer service here. And we have a lot of different values in our organization that actually are embedded in our culture, which you'll see briefly. Everything from displaying our integrity in our work each day, to how have we been resourceful in our work that day, to also about work-life balance is really big here. So you'll see examples about that, but I think it is important to kind of get a sense and a snapshot of who exactly is this employer. So here, I love pictures, and I think what a better way to help share a little bit about who we are by capturing some of the moments that are pretty recent. Up to the left, you're going to see a picture of us in our field day. So in the summer, we have a day dedicated to divide all of our employees. We're at 300 and I believe now 98 employees in our organization. We're divided up into teams, and we get an opportunity to do exactly that, a field day, an opportunity to play games, get points with the games, and win prizes. We have company shirts. That's the best way I can describe it, as organization themed shirts. And they provided us with a food truck that day. And just a really great way to just build camaraderie among each other, spend some time enjoying the summer days, because it was a really nice day that day. But just to give you an idea, down to the bottom, you're gonna see a big group of us with like the pink kind of logo shirts. Some of us did a team to run one of the local workforce challenges. It's a 5K, it's a little longer than a 5K. I actually walked it. So I joined the team, and we had an opportunity to do that as a group. And then we do everything to our school supplies drive, which is very recent. Earlier this year, we partnered with a local school and assisted in collecting supplies for their kiddos in their district. And then there's our leader, Tom Lee is our executive director and chief investment officer. And those are examples of our employee awards, that we have recognition awards and programs here to recognize the hard work that folks are doing every day in our pension fund. So where are we located? So some folks might be down in New York City, but we're not that far away from you. We're about 2 to 3 hour drive to either New York City, Boston, or Montreal. The average commute in our area is about 23 minutes or so to most major cities or major locations, like towns in our area. We have access to an international airport, which is super easy to get to, and actually NYSERS is super close to it. And our area is really mixed. I mean, if you're interested in more of an urban setting to settle in, or a suburban or rural lifestyle, you can find that here in the capital region. We have quite a breadth there. There's 24 different colleges and universities in our area. So definitely yields a lot of early career professionals here. And we certainly have a variety of areas to explore, which if you're ever interested in chatting about, happy to, but we definitely have very active summers here in the capital region. And even in the winter months and fall, there's always something to do, especially where we're located, a lot of great activities to access pretty quickly. So again, I already talked about who we serve. Our organization as a whole has employers that we partner with, so the school districts. So we're about 822 school districts or employers that we work with. And in total, we've done an annual payments to retirees and beneficiaries is just over $8 billion. So we do manage quite a bit of funds and support to make sure that we are managing our money correctly in order to ensure that we're able to make those payments. And I remember reading this in a historical document here at the system that since our inception, we've never missed a payment. So that's a pretty big deal. And just again, seeing how we manage as an organization, because some folks might look at us and say, oh, you're a state agency, but we're actually more of like a state entity, if anything, is a better way to categorize us. And we have our own budget, and you're just seeing already right now, you're looking at how we manage our funds. And like I said, the investment side of the contributions that we're getting and the money we're managing is 85% of that funding that we pay out is truly from how it's being invested. There's a small percentage to employer contributions and a small from our members ourselves. So we really do take a conservative approach with our investment side, but at the same time, we do take risks as appropriate. And this has a lot of different numbers, but what I want you to take away is in the 30-year period, we have been able to pay out a total of benefit expenses to 140.4 billion as a whole. And so just knowing again that we do manage quite a bit of funds here at our organization. So that's why you'll hear a lot about our investment side, but there's also different areas of organization that folks may not realize in order to support the work that we do. Again, another distinction that makes us different from a typical state agency is we are actually governed by a 10-member board of trustees, and you can actually see the makeup of the board right below you. We have teacher members, we have school administrators, we have retired teachers, we have bank executives. So it really is meant and made up from the community that we're serving. And in our history, we've only had 6 executive directors and chief investment officers, and Thomas Lee, who's our fearless leader, has been at the helm for 17 years. So he literally, and he just celebrated his anniversary. I felt like a couple of weeks ago, I remember hearing him say, he was like, oh, today is when I started at NYS. So really, in our long history, to see such sustainable leadership really showcases the commitment of folks who are really driving the direction of the system. And like I mentioned earlier, we have a breadth of opportunities here. And we have 23 different departments that really make up the system. So whether they're the department that focuses on supporting the teachers and managing their funds and answering their questions and ensuring they have the answers that they need, or whether you're our legal department that's helping to ensure that our investments and what we're doing with our real estate department is better supported. Or maybe you're our HR department, which is where I'm in and Christine's in, and we're supporting the employees who are doing the great work in these departments. Or maybe you're in DEI and you're helping to ensure that we have an inclusive workplace that helps us support other sense of belonging. Again, the breadth of opportunities we have here, by even seeing the building, it doesn't help you to truly understand it, but just a better takeaway is to see the breadth that we have here. So now that we're moving forward, which is great for timing, because I want to make sure we have time for questions, we have 2 employment opportunities we do want to share with you that can really help you to either accelerate your career in public service, or even to say, hey, this employer sounds very interesting. Where could it be a starting point for me? So our summer internship program really became a program this past summer. We've always had interns, roughly about 4 or 5, but this past summer we had 17. So we've definitely grown. And this is actually a picture of our folks that are with us. Some of these folks are actually still with us. They've continued their internship past the summer term. Down to the right of your screen, you'll actually see the internship showcase. That is where our students had an opportunity in panel-like style to talk about the work that they've done and what they've learned. And the moderator was one of our students from the Communications and Outreach Department. So just again, giving you a sense of what folks get to do when they're here. And all of these folks were in all different departments across our organization. Some folks were diversity, equity, inclusion. Others were in I'm trying to think of not risk. Internal audit was another one. We had a budget folks. So we really had folks everywhere, even legal. So better to hear it from our interns is seeing just some quick highlights from folks. This was Elena's comment about her time here at the system. And one takeaway I had in conversations with Elena was just feeling like she was really utilized for her skill set and that she got meaningful work. And that's important to us. Interns need to come in here and be supported, but most importantly, you're given actual work to support our departments and with whatever their focus and the business that they're really focused on, they get to support us with that. And then Nick was another intern that we had this past summer, and he really talked about the tools and opportunities that he had access to. And it really helped him to grow a lot. And he was really happy and satisfied with his internship, as many of the other folks. I thought it was great to just hear about it because it was our first program officially with that large of a group. So here's some of the information that's important to know about our internship. It is a full-time internship in the summer. We do start in the month of early June through about mid-August, but the end date is flexible. Our folks get an opportunity to participate in a flexible work schedule here, which is actually a standard culture of our organization. We do have a flexible work schedule that can start earlier in the morning or later in the evening, as long as you're getting your work done during those hours and meet the hours that are required of you. We also have half-day Fridays in the summer. So folks, really, if you're relocating here to the Capital Region for our internship, you'll have the opportunity to really leverage all the best that the Capital Region has to have by having half days. And we also have a hybrid organization. So our organization does have folks who work remotely and also in building, and we all participate in a capacity of remote work to some degree. So folks will actually get set up with all the technology they need to work remotely during their experience with us. And we also have career development workshops and sessions. This was really requested from the students last summer. So we did LinkedIn profiles. We actually got headshots done from our marketing department for folks for their LinkedIn profiles. We did resume, cover letter reviews, all of the areas that folks were really interested in. And to add even more to what we do with our interns, we provided networking opportunities because we really wanted to make sure that even if an intern was in a certain department, you might get a curiosity about what does another department do, and giving them opportunity to meet and network with those folks is key. And also for the interns to get to know each other. A lot of times the folks that interned with us, some were local to the capital region, others were not. So giving them a sense of, okay, why don't we go off site and do an activity together? So a lot of bonding there. I already talked about the showcase, which was also a huge highlight for many. And also our summers here at NYSers are engaging and they're fun and they want to do different activities with us, whether it's the food trucks or bringing us to a minor league baseball game in our area and paying for a section for us to have food and enjoy a game all together in the summer night. So that's something else. So any of our employee events are open to our students to participate. And most importantly, the opportunity to extend. And this is very contingent on a department's budget, but also our capacity. But we do have students who've been able to extend into a part-time opportunity going into the academic year. The only caveat is that students who intern with us, especially if you're applying, we need to know that you have at least one more semester of academic study in order to do an internship with us through this program, which I believe the next slide will jump into about that. Yes, so qualifications. So what you need to know. Sophomore, junior, or senior standing is ideal for our internship program, and that you must have one more academic semester of study remaining after the internship. The dates for the program are up on your screen, but like I said, they are subjective based on the end date specifically, because we know folks may have different competing priorities. The application is super simple. We just need folks to submit an updated resume, and cover letter is optional. And we're just asking for folks to include an objective statement on their resume, just indicating which of the internship placements we're recruiting for you're most interested in. And we don't have those listed on the screen, but I'm happy to provide that department list because we actually are recruiting currently for 10 placements for next summer. And the deadline to apply is November 13th. So we still have a little bit of time, but we have seen an uptick in our applications overnight, which is exciting. So if this is something of interest to you, very straightforward resume with just an objective statement telling us which departments you're most interested in. So now I'm going to briefly talk about our investment fellowship, and I'd love to open it up for questions from folks as well. So our investment fellowship program is actually a postgraduate fellowship opportunity for folks, and we'll summarize a little bit more in the next slide, but I do want to highlight this picture. This is actually our fellows right now. This is Chris, Renee, Damola, and Matthew. They're our first inaugural cohort, and we're really excited because this is a program that has taken some time to get off the ground, but this is one of the highlights of what the system has to offer for our postgrads. So basically, the fellows are participating in a hands-on training opportunity where they get exposure to our asset classes through working at fixed income, real estate, private and public equity, and investment operations, among other areas. But the core areas are fixed income, real estate, private and public equity. And they do this at 6-month rotations among those 4 areas. And basically, by the end of the 2-year fellowship, folks will have an opportunity, because they've gained all the necessary experience, they actually qualify and can apply for a permanent investment officer 1 position at NYSers at the end of it. The salary for these positions are actually for our next cohort that we're bringing on. We have 2 positions we're going to be bringing on for a start date of January. The salary is $54,550 for the first year, and the second year it would be $60,000 or higher. And we'll have more details about what that will look like. But for the first year, that was what the salary would be. And that's just the salary. We have all of the benefits that our employees get as an organization. The fellows also receive as well. And then here, some other benefits that I'd like to highlight is participation in our hybrid work schedule. Again, the flex schedule, so the ability to start and end their day as needed to support them with what they need to take care of. We have excellent medical, dental, and vision packages, and folks can participate in that. Plenty of time off, so they can accrue time off just like other employees, which is great. They can elect to participate in our state pension if they would like to participate in that. And any of our DEI trainings and career development events, anything that we have at our organization that's provided to our employees, they have an opportunity to benefit as well. Also, big one, tuition assistance. Our organization does provide tuition assistance support, which is 75% of the SUNY tuition towards a degree. And I actually am leveraging this right now for my master's that I'm working on. And this takes in effect the first day an employee starts with us, as does the fellow. If you're a candidate who is potentially looking to continue with some kind of certification, let's say a CFA, we do provide payment for that. So CFA study time and exam fee reimbursement is a benefit of this program. And like I mentioned, the summer Fridays, employee events, career development trainings, all of that is provided for our fellows as the rest of our employees. So I'll take a step back for a second and say, why a fellowship? Now, I know for some folks, you might want to get on the job market right away, but sometimes there's folks that are like, you know what, I would really like an opportunity that's a bit more developmental. Fellowships really do provide you an opportunity to gain access to a talent network that maybe you haven't gotten to just yet. So maybe some professionals that can really help you in supporting in your growth and development. Also, fellowships do engage you in some challenging work, interesting work, and I know our fellows are really at the heart of working on projects that are very neat, like our areas that are needed in those departments. So being able to support them is huge. Also, the opportunity to travel. I know one of our fellows, Chris, got to go to New York City last week and spend some time meeting with some of the stakeholders down in the city. And he talked about the excitement and the exposure and kind of running around the city, making sure to make time to meet with everybody. But that's also a benefit, is the access to fund, work, and travel. And also the title alone of fellowship on a resume can really stand out to a prospective employer, really showcasing that it's a level of bit of prestige in the sense that you were selected because of your qualifications and background and your curiosity and willingness to learn and develop. Not everybody is a fellow, so if you see fellowship in the title, that means there's definitely some developmental approach to the work being done in that program. So if you're interested in considering this, a bachelor's or master's degree student or even a recent graduate would be eligible for it, as long as you're receiving your degree by December of 23 or January 24, or even if you're a recent grad from the class of May of 23, you can apply. We do look for folks who possess some analytical and quantitative skills. So if you've done that, whether through your coursework or perhaps you've done that in your internship or in a job elsewhere, highlighting that would be important. And we also want to hear about a little bit of an interest in investments or maybe a drive to this type of career path. Some folks may not truly know that this is a direction they want to go into, and that is okay. We're open to folks who may have not had a background in this area or are saying, you know, I come from a political science background. I don't know much about investments, but I do have the analytical background, or I have the quant skills, or, you know, whatever you feel like makes you a great candidate for here. And I'll be honest with you, our Chief Investment Officer and Executive Director, Tom Lee, is a political science undergrad graduate. And so knowing that he is even at the helm of our organization shows that our degrees in liberal arts are actually quite transferable. And also you have to be a US citizen or authorized to work in the US to apply. And certainly if you have questions about any of these qualifications, even as simple as say, look, and you're not sure, reach out. We'd be happy to chat. So some key information, again, we're hiring for 2 fellows. The start date is in the new year, January 4th of 2024. Actually, one quick caveat here, the application deadline is November 13th. So when I send the slide deck over to Suzanne, I'll make sure to edit that for you all so you have the appropriate information. And to apply, all you need to do is submit a resume to recruitment@nystrs.org. And again, the cover letter is optional. And no objective statement for this because it's just for the fellowship. So pretty straightforward, but again, the deadline to apply is November 13th. So now we have time certainly for questions as we kind of peruse through all of this content. I know it's a lot for folks, and maybe you have questions about the organization, maybe you have questions about working for New York State, or even about fellowships or our career paths. We certainly want to make this a valuable session for all of you, so we're open to any questions you all might have.
So those who are here, if you want to raise your hand or unmute yourself, you could also put a question in the chat. Here comes a question.
Okay. So, hi everyone. I hope I say your name right. Is it Psyche from Cornell Brooks School? Thank you for your detailed presentation. Of course. As an international student, I do wonder if there's H-1B sponsorship opportunities available. We have gotten that question in the past, and I've spoken to my supervisor about that before. Sponsorship is something that NYSERS is willing to look into, but it's very subjective by position and the type of work that the person would be doing. It's not something that's unheard of by our organization. I think the way that we're structured probably gives us a little bit more flexibility compared to a state agency. So we would definitely say it's not impossible. It's something that's very subjective by position and the focus of the work. So if you're a student who falls under that and would want to explore that more, it would really depend on the position. But I'd be happy to chat with you. And if anything, bring in other folks who can come and have a conversation with you about that. But that's a great question. We've actually gotten that even at several of the career fairs. You're welcome. No problem. Other folks? Give it a second. I will give a quick caveat while folks are kind of thinking about their questions. I know it's a lot of information. If you go to our website, you will see that there is a career page. If you look closely enough in the About Us section, please note that we are transitioning application tracking systems. So you will not see any active posting on there currently, but we will be posting in the coming weeks with our new system. So therefore, there will be opportunities that are being posted. So there's a queue kind of building up for us at HR as we get ready to go live. But for right now, you can follow us on our LinkedIn page. I actually will be posting about the fellowship and the internship this week. And you can always connect with us on LinkedIn or even send us an email. And actually, I think we can also put our email in the chat for folks if you would like it. That I can also do that too. But I'm more than happy to connect with folks separately. Right. So I don't see any questions yet. I don't know if Suzanne had any questions for us that might have come up with. Or even Samantha, I don't know if you could think of anything.
I just wanted to clarify because I think that most people, the handful of people here and whoever might watch the recording, are going to be at the graduate level. So were you saying the internships are for undergraduates only currently?
It's actually open for both grad and undergrad.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was.
Yeah, we have quite a bit. So we have both grad and undergrad. And actually last year we had several. It was basically, it felt more like a mix, actually, probably either closer to half or a little bit more than half, but it is open to both. And even our investment fellowship is open to folks who have their bachelor's or their master's degree too. So both.
What about helping people who are coming from New York City, which a lot of our students are, or another, just in terms of like orienting to the Albany area and finding housing? Do you offer that kind of support?
Sure. So financial support would be something that we haven't done before for the interns, but support in the sense of, hey, can we chat about finding resources and where to find housing? That's something that we could certainly talk through. I know we've done that before with other candidates. I know we've even have some resources here from our local chamber that's put together some fantastic resources to help people. And we also do get the interns to get to connect with each other. That's actually part of what I also oversee the internship program, is when folks get selected for the program, I will be bringing them together because we never know. Maybe some folks want to live together or arrange some type of roommate situation. So I'm actually partnering not only with the chamber, but also bringing these folks together early before their experience, especially if they're relocating. Because we had several students from New York City that actually did our internship program last year. So it is possible, and we'd be happy to talk with them and give them the guidance that they need for that.
Great, sounds good.
That's a great question. And folks, I believe I said this, but just another point of clarity, because I know internships are pretty popular right now, folks considering it is a paid internship, and our rate for paying for our internship is $20 an hour. So just a heads up there for folks, because I know sometimes people are looking at internships and some are unpaid, but I think even during the pandemic and afterward, we've started to see an increase of that more in career services. So perhaps we're starting to continue to see that, but we are a paid internship program.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, I don't see any other questions in the chat right now. So what I'll do is I'll put our contact information on the screen here. You are more than welcome to reach out to us at any point in time. We are still recruiting for our internship program actively now, and our 2 fellowship positions in the spring for a start date in January. Folks need any clarity on anything, feel free to contact us. I did put my email in the chat, or you can even reach out on LinkedIn, and we're happy to connect with you. Thank you so much for your time today, everybody, and good luck with the rest of the semester.
Thanks so much, Yalitza and Christine. We really appreciate you being here. I'll send around the recording to everybody who registered for today, and we'll also include your the email resources for follow-up questions.
Awesome. Thank you all.
Take care.
Bye.